A lot of people see this as like the start of Xbox actually pulling out of the console and moving more towards being just a third-party subscription service. Thanks for joining me back here in the Xbox basement, everybody. My name is John, and a few months ago, Microsoft said that they wanted to get Game Pass everywhere. Now, there's been a bunch of statements since then, but I actually had a lot of questions about this, and also think about what this would actually mean if it were to happen. So I was looking at this article here on Push Square, which is of course a PlayStation focus, and on this article, they talk about how Microsoft was proposing putting Game Pass on their competitors' devices like PlayStation and Nintendo. And I really think that most people's first response is, why the heck would they do this? However, my first response was, wow, that's actually kind of smart for Microsoft. And you might think that I'm crazy because then you're thinking that, wait a minute, we're not even going to have an Xbox anymore. But what we're actually talking about here is a service. Now, a lot of the games that are on Game Pass, you can actually download and play on your PlayStation or on your Nintendo Switch. So what the real core of this would be are first party titles. So if you want to get Starfield on PlayStation or any of the new Bethesda titles that are going to be coming out like Elder Scrolls 6, then this would essentially be the only way to do it. Hey, if you guys didn't know, you can actually become a member of the channel now. And there's all sorts of cool perks and benefits. And while it might seem just totally contradictory for Microsoft to even propose something like this, and Sony said that it has chosen to block Game Pass on its platform, meaning that there was some sort of proposal to Sony for this option. In order to block it, they had to at least consider it. And it would really be the same thing for the Nintendo Switch as well. Now, there's a whole wealth of reasons why Sony and Nintendo would actually decide not to do this. Primarily for Sony, they actually believe that it devalues games on their launch. But that's something I'll get into in a later video. Right now, I want to ask the questions of what if this actually happened? Number one, how would this actually affect the sales of Xbox? Number two, if you had an option to have only one console but have all of these great first-party exclusives, is that something that you would actually buy into? Number three, would these be watered-down versions of their games? Would there be any compatibility issues? Because if they were originally making these for Xbox and now you're trying to run it on a non-native system, especially something that is really underpowered like the Switch, how would that actually work? Number four, would this actually run on the hardware, or would it be only like a streaming thing, so essentially just cloud gaming? And number five, would this actually make cross-platform play easier? Especially after this Activision Blizzard King acquisition with all of these Call of Duties that will eventually be on Xbox and solely on Xbox. A lot of people see this as like the start of Xbox actually pulling out of the console and moving more towards being just a third-party subscription service. And I personally don't believe that because of all the roadmap leaks that we saw back a few months ago, and I really believe this would just be another layer for Xbox and Microsoft in general, because publishers are actually starting to move more this direction anyway. So think of like Ubisoft and EA, they have their own additional subscription add-ons, so in a very real sense, why not Xbox too? And you guys leave me your thoughts on this as well. Would you actually subscribe to something like this if it meant that you could only keep one console? Hey, thanks for watching the video today. If you made it this far, consider subscribing to the channel. I personally don't think that this would actually run natively on the hardware because it'd just be a lot easier to stream everything, very similar to what they're doing now, like over a web browser or a smart TV, and the rest of it honestly would just be speculation of what first-party games would actually be included in this and how much would it actually cost. And the best way to not have compatibility issues is just to make it more of like a built-in app that just streams these Xbox exclusive games. And I think this really kind of pulls at people, whether you prefer PlayStation or you prefer Xbox. As an Xbox user, I'm thinking, yeah, I kind of don't want my games over on the PlayStation, but on the other side, as a PlayStation owner, if I can get some of these cool Xbox exclusives without having to actually buy their console, I would say that's a win and actually consider subscribing to an Xbox service. As always, a huge thank you to all of my subscribers. I've been John, by the way, and we will see you guys in the next one.